HSPs, what are they? What makes them tick? And what are some of the traits? I'm going to do 5 top traits of HSP, which stands for highly sensitive person. If you've seen any of my videos before, you'll know that I use myself as an example most times if I happen to have that trait, that personality trait, or that condition. In this case, it's a genetic marker. It's to do with the serotonin transporter gene. I'm not going to get into the science of it, but people have, with HSP, usually have lower levels of serotonin, which shows up in the serotonin transporter gene. And they're very interesting people. I am one. I know this because I work with my own therapist, and I've done the test, which I'll tell you about if you're interested. And it's quite a superpower to have, which a lot of us didn't know. And I'm not saying that because we're better. It's not necessarily we're better. We're just different. So 15 to 20% of the population are HSPs. And when I say are HSPs, it doesn't define you. It's not everything that you are. It's a personality trait. So what does it look like and how does it manifest? So we now know that it's genetic, which most personality traits aren't. And a lot of people take that as bad news. They think, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't change it. That's not true, because what you can do is you can make some lifestyle changes. You need to do some regulation of emotion, because let me talk about the 5 top personality traits of an HSP, and then this will make much more sense. So number 1, they have great empathy. Now that doesn't mean others don't have empathy. It just means that they have an inordinate amount of empathy. There was a film, I think it was called The Sixth Sense, and there's a line in it, I can see dead people. I can see hurt people. I can see people that are emotionally hurting. And the interesting thing when you have a personality trait is you don't actually know that you're any different than anyone else until you start getting deeper into it, which is what happened to me. I just thought this was the way everybody was. I didn't think there was anything different about me. And then I realized that I absorbed so much more of people's moods, emotions, characteristics. I was very sensitive, which can be bittersweet, because you do absorb a lot, and it can actually affect your own mood and your own sensitivity and your own emotions. However, being a therapist, it's been a really good thing to have. It helps me to connect and be quite intuitive. A second trait is that HSPs can frequently freeze under intense pressure and take things very personally, especially in the workplace. And we take things very personally. There may be a comment made off the cuff, or disappointment is really difficult to deal with when people say they're going to do something or something's meant to happen. Just happened to me in this moment. I won't go into the details, but I was waiting for something to be delivered, and it got very misunderstood, and it didn't show up. So it kind of changed my whole day, and I really need then to go inside and to have a word with myself, literally have a word with myself. And in my case, because I've also experienced, which many of us have, childhood developmental trauma, I work with my inner child. That really helps me to self-regulate from the dysregulation that I'm feeling. And I know it may sound strange that a small thing like that can really change our day, but it can, because we are just so sensitive to things, how they go, whether they go right, whether they go wrong. And that for me would be like something went wrong, and other people it would just sort of fall off their shoulder as if it was nothing, like duck off a water's back. Or did I mean water off a duck's back? That's what I meant. It's different. We internalize things quite differently. We take things quite personally. The third one is we have a very rich inner life. It's hard to describe that, but it's, for me, I'm very visual. So I have a very visual inner life. It's in Technicolor, let us say. And this really manifests through the arts and through nature. I personally really love the arts, any form, any medium, art, dance, music, plays, musicals. I really, really connect to that and come to life with that. And I'm not alone, because many HSPs do. They really connect with nature, and they maybe liked forest bathing, or, just daily walks in nature alone. We need a lot of alone time. Now, this is a really interesting statistic or fact, is that a lot of people think that HSPs are introverts. I am personally not an introvert. So the statistics on that are 30% of HSPs are extroverts. And we actually, because sometimes we can become very overwhelmed by the sensory stimuli in our world, like sound and light and taste and smell, which is very, very potent for me. I can smell things that other people can't, if you know what I mean. So we can become very overwhelmed very easily. You would think that all HSPs would like to stay away from chaos and crowds and all that. However, I thrive on it. I thrive on connection to others. And this may be surprising to some people that know HSPs that are very introverted, quite shy. So when I was growing up, I was called, and my parents, I don't blame them, they didn't understand, but I was so sensitive and I cried a lot, and I was called a crybaby. Very emotional, over emotional. Some people are called divas, drama queens, and actually it's out of their control. And in my case, my parents, this was decades ago, they didn't know what to do. And the doctor then, I was about 8 years old, they put me on Valium, diazepam, because they thought I was just such an overly emotional child. Coupled with that, I also had a traumatic birth, umbilical cord around the neck. So if anybody's had a traumatic birth, that can also exacerbate it. And I found that out the hard way. However, the good news, we can work on these things, and we don't all need therapy. We just need to make some lifestyle changes. The fourth one I'd like to talk about is we're very detail oriented. Almost hyper-vigilant. We notice things that other people don't notice, and that could be through our five senses. But for me in particular, because I'm so visual, I notice what's going on in my environment, and I notice things that a lot of other people don't notice. I didn't realize that until I've begun to have these conversations with people. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that there was an accident. And I remember this happened very vividly. I remember this. I witnessed a car accident at an intersection, and there were several other people there. And I remembered the number plate, the license plate. And I didn't do it on purpose. It's just that I scanned it and I remembered it. And when the police came up to me to take a statement, I remembered it. Now, the interesting thing was 5 people also remembered the license plate, but they remembered it differently. And 3 of us remembered it the same. And they decided to take that number as the right one, and it turned out to be the right one. I'm not aware of this when I do it. It's just that I scan all the time. I'm scanning, which can be very exhausting. And HSPs can get emotionally burned out very quickly, and they don't even realize it because we're scanning our world all the time. And, we just pick up on things that smells, sounds, feelings that other people don't pick up on. And the 5th one that I want to talk about is we're always seeking purpose in our work. Now, I'm not saying that other people don't seek purpose and meaning in their work, but it's very hard for HSPs to work in a job that doesn't fulfill them in any way. In fact, HSPs do very well working for themselves on their own, even if they're part of a corporation, working from home. It just tends to be more productive for them, and they're able to regulate their emotions more. Now, using myself as an example, I work for myself, I run my own business. However, I also have this extrovert part of self, HSP self, that likes to be around others. So the way I balance that is I do workshops where I present to others in the room, in person, and I get a lot of what I need from the interaction with community. There are many other traits which I'll go to in other videos. I'll get more deeply into them, but I just wanted to make a start with this. And what I wanted to tell you is, and I'm not saying this because I am an HSP, it is a superpower. It truly is. A lot of creatives are HSPs, actors, artists, painters, dancers, which is, I think, why we connect so much to the arts. And it is a beautiful thing. It's just that we really need to learn how to navigate it because, unfortunately, and this is my own personal opinion, I think we live in a world that doesn't support sensitive people at this moment. And HSPs become very overwhelmed with world issues like climate change, wars. I personally cannot watch the news, certain parts of the news. And in fact, I try not to watch it at all. But if there's something very traumatic on the news, I will not watch it. I cannot watch horror films. I can't stand them. They get me so anxious and activated that I have to turn them off. So these things show up in different ways in different people's lives. I personally had to learn that I can't drink caffeine. It just overstimulates me. Even if I drink it at 9 o'clock in the morning, it will keep me up through the night. So we're all different. HSPs, there are lots of similarities, but people, we are all different. And I hope this helps you to gain a little bit of understanding about HSPs, highly sensitive people. I'm going to talk more about it. I'm going to talk more about it in terms of the connection to narcissism. There's a doctor I want to tell you about, Dr. Elaine Aron, A-R-O-N. She is the trailblazer for the research in highly sensitive people. You can go online. She's written many books. The Highly Sensitive Person. She talks about highly sensitive children. She talks more about the traits. And on her website, she has a quiz, a self-test that you can take, 20-some questions, and it will explain to you the scoring at the end of it. So if you think you're a highly sensitive person, if you've struggled in your life with your emotions, if people have referred to you as very sensitive, crybaby, this applies to men, not just women. I find that it's harder for men to connect to this because, we don't seem to promote that and support that in men very much about being sensitive. Our society is about success and winning and making money, all of those things that I think HSPs do struggle with. And we don't actually, most of us don't look at earning money. We look at purpose and meaning in our careers and in our jobs. So thank you very much for listening today. And if you have any questions, please reach out and ask. Any comments, please subscribe. I'd love you guys to subscribe. I'm going to do lots more videos, and I'm going to start doing some YouTube live. Stay safe, keep well, see you soon.